Avi, 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 can you hear me? Avi. Well, I hope you can see me. This is Dr. Professor SHIFERBRANZ, and Avi's been having some harder days, and so he asked me to take chapter 5 or whatever this is. We're still in the chapter 1, but anyway, he said he thought it would be a good idea that I give everyone a tour of the museum. So we've been straightening up, and for us, we're both, anyone that's old enough, we're both Oscar Madison. Neither of us are Felix. But anyway, so this is the walkway up, and I don't know if you can see all this. This is all Avi's creations, and he wanted me to point out 16 of his AIs. An AI is an art installation, and so he asked me to try to keep it to 22 minutes, so we're going to try to do that. And so we're coming in to what Avi has shared has completely saved him over and over again his whole life. There's endless stories about Avi being found by the police in the woods. He'd always go to the woods, always go to the woods. So this is called forest bathing, right along here. And I don't know how well you can see all of this. And forest bathing leads to what Avi calls his final, he calls it my final conclusion. And after all his forest bathing and seeking all the gods, this is his final, after reading many scriptures. I think there's a Bible there. Anyway, it is just the infinity is here atop, and all of the injustices that are forever afflicting all creation, not just humans. Avi has deep-seated hatred for suffering and sees no purpose for it. But this is called my final conclusion. And there you can see that's a lock of Avi's beard at the bottom. And I don't know if you can see that, and a water filter. And ultimately, Avi did that painting of his final conclusion. So anyway, we have to go. It's too long of a story, but anyway, this, I don't think you can see it too well. I put a light on, but this, he calls this oodles of doodles, like people will doodle, you know. These are just various different things. Some of them are very intense. There is, Avi always says next to his dad, Yudi, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is the most influential human being and continues to be in his life. And Avi will tell anyone that he loves dogs more than humans. And anyway, I'm kind of getting in the way of this. I hope we get graded on effort here. This is pretty cool that Avi did. I don't even know what it's called, but I can't seem to get it now. So there we go. That's just cool. I just love it. I know it was called stained glass, something. But obviously it was stained glass. That's right. Got that. All right. Anyway, this is pretty intense. Really intense. That is, Avi did that, I think, about 3 years ago. And that's him in the middle. And his past is destroying him, and the need to end loneliness, which obviously this whole book is only about. Otherwise, it's all fruitless. This is heavy, but we'll just let that go. This whole thing now, you have to understand, if you can see me, that this has had 3-4 different changes. What Avi does is that he builds them, and he goes into rages. He knows he will. He always tells his therapist, I just kind of know. When he's doing them, he knows he'll keep them forever. And but he takes a very Buddhist Jesuit priest view of art. So the concept is, they do sand art at the end of the week. They just throw the sand up or they smush it around. And so nothing lasts forever. God is the ultimate creator, decayer, destroyer. Creator, decayer, destroyer, Avi says. So anyway, so he destroys them, and then he feels like a springtime comes. So believe it or not, and he uses only like garbage to make a point that the world is still garbage. No matter what the art is, it's garbage. All of his art, well, most of them anyway, will have cigarette butts, cigarette ash, all of that. But anyway, this whole thing, and I'll go right to the heart of it, but yeah, let me go to the heart of it, is, and anyway, that painting, which, and it originally was over here, and it had an extensive art installations. It's basically like a child with building blocks or Tinker Toys or whatever, Legos. But Avi, because the world is suffering chronically, even if he creates something like that pretty little heart you saw in my final conclusion, the point is, his final conclusion, the world is horrible, even when it's good. So anyway, this painting was made with bronze nail polish, cigarette and marijuana ash only, and anyway, it had an extensive amount around it, but now the entire thing, he really went crazy. I was so surprised the police didn't show up. You can't see all this too well, but anyway, it's all called now Still Without Form and Void. There's my bed. I sleep right here. And this was the first wing of the museum when Avi was allowed to stay here, and the owner who originally had it absorbed everything because Avi cannot afford anything. But nevertheless, he used to sleep here, and there was nothing here, nothing. And Avi just gathers things and does his AIs. But I sleep here in the museum to get the feel of Avi Crazy, because this is all his work. I'm just the proprietor, whatever they call there's a fancy word. I can't believe it. Professor SHIFERBRANZ doesn't remember. Huh? Anyway, this over here is very emotional to me. Very emotional. He ripped it and tore it down. I begged him not to. I said, do whatever you want. But this is called my dream, and his dream, the giraffe sticks his neck out, and so his concept is we need to stick our necks out and become friends for someone, and so there it is, his dream. But anyway, to move on, I don't know how much time we have. We're doing pretty well. Actually, might be doing better than I thought. This is new. Well, it's not new, but it's now newer. I'm going to sit down. I'm very tired. I don't know if you can see it too well. But anyway, this is called, what did Avi just name it? Truth. What did he tell me? Truth. Um, Truth's distortion of professed light. Truth's distortion of professed light. And it means at night there's a light going on, and it would make a lot more sense. But again, like still without form and void, you could see the desire for peace, and yet Avi did an art installation when he was homeless in Pittsburgh called Chutes and Ladders, the Human Experiment or the Human Experience. And anyway, you see venom, and so peace just doesn't happen. And Avi smokes a lot of cigarettes. And he suggests it's the cheapest brand, and he thinks it's funny. He says the whole art exhibit is called This. But anyway, you could see broken lights and dentures that didn't fit and tape that doesn't adhere, and it's very sad. It's very sad. Pill bottles. And anyway, truth's distortion of professed light. And that goes for all the philosophies and the religions and the atheists. And at the end of the thing, it's still without form and void. Oh, this is part of it here. I didn't even... he was just working on this the last few days. So anyway, this was very extensive. I'm not going to go through it. It was astounding. If anyone was ever here, this is the only one Avi would explain. It was astounding to listen to him. He took 20 minutes. The whole concept of how the creative gods, what they do to the vessel, and so that, and it was originally called Five Ladies in Waiting, for this creative spirits to impregnate them and whatever. But now it's just called the Abandoned Whorehouse. That's all. It's Ichabod here, and Avi's very down. But anyway, I said, well, what are you going to do? Because we got to throw a lot of stuff away, and we're both paranoid schizophrenic, and so we don't want to go out, and it's a lot of work, and Avi's very sick in his body with the heart attack and the esophagus. He takes so much medicine. Anyway, but I said, what are you going to call that? He said, tell him the levee is leaking. And there it is over, well, that's a different AI, but the levee is leaking. I'm going to save this little doodah because Avi's been working on it. I told you, he goes through these, whatever. Oh, this right here, if you can see it, I don't know. It's hard to see, but anyway, it's called a medicine cabinet. That's what it's really called. Anything with Avi. Avi has a very microscopic brain, so he sees details of details, and he calls his artwork Stu Art, because that's his middle name, and he always says that he's an entitled artist. And I said, well, you live a pretty hard life to be an entitled artist. It's really sad. That bird was, it's very sad. But anyway, I said, you know, and so anyhow, I just have to sit down again. So what was I saying to you? That, entitled. He said that he goes, I guess it just as, he says, I don't think all art is this way. But if he doesn't know what it's going to be. Avi never has an idea in his mind other than voices tell him to start doing something. and he does. And at the end, he knows it's finished. If there's creatures in it, the eyes are towards the end. But he goes, then he gets the title. So he says all his art, he's an entitled artist. I always thought that's funny. But it's all about that. It's all the summation of all these little details. Like the body's got millions of all these little cells. But ultimately, you sum it up and go, that's a human body. And so when he gets that title. So anyway, there was something I wanted to show you. How are we doing with time? I am so sorry. Anyway, I'm worried about Avi. He's just not doing well. But this is very positive. There's too long of a story on this, and I don't want to make anyone sad. But you can see happy things here. There's a puzzle for children. I'm telling you. There's bubbles. There's a nice heating pad. And it was Avi's favorite game as a child. And you see, and he says, this is a whole little thing up until here. Before that it starts. And you see the vacuum. So he goes, he calls it, take 5 if you want to survive. We all need, and there's that vacuum with happy birthday, no matter how hard it is. I don't know if you can see it. And there's the vacuum. I don't really think you can see it, but he says, take 5 if you're going to survive, because we all need a quick pick-me-upper. And a vacuum picks you up. It's very sad. Starts with this blanket. It's a very complex blanket. Every moon in the universe, every being in the universe. And Avi won't go to sleep without it. And it's hard enough to get him to wash it. But anyhow, this is called My American Dream. And it starts because, you dream when you sleep. And it's not a very happy thing, that's all. It's just not happy whatsoever. So we'll come back to that. I don't know, we'll do this now. And this is 2 AIs. And one, I think, 3. But if you can see this, and it is supposed to be, wait a minute, did that light go out? I'm sorry. Well, I'll put that, no, let me put that on now. It's astounding. Oh, we're doing all of this. Let me see if we get that light on. There we go. Okay, I'll turn this off. I better leave it on. So, seeing I turn that on. This here is called the refiner's fire, and how that it says that the Lord tries his servants as he tries silver and gold 7 times in the refining fire. And then these chairs here, I keep pretending I can see them. I just don't know if you can see me. But you can see that there's 2 spots, 2 chairs, and this bed. And so Avi entitled that Job, the book of Job, has visitors. Now this is Avi's spot, right here. He's, so Job has visitors. But this is also, this is, his artwork will always, he believes deeply in moments. And every moment is a new moment, and so it takes the old and whatever it's going to do with it. But here we go. I'm just going to span this, because if I take any time, well, this is just obvious medicine, whatever. But this is ultimately, it's a working band. Avi loves to drum, 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 loves sounds, loves drums, loves sounds, loves being, loves it. And anyway, so I don't know how well you can see all this. I don't think I'm doing a very good job here. But anyway, uh, that's a pipe he just made. He calls it He calls it Pops. What do you call it? Pop, like Jiffy Pop popcorn. Um, um, uh, uh, what did he say? Jiffy Puff pipes. Jiffy Puff pipes. But anyway, it's funny. But I can't. It's just a sad. This is the most sacred of everything. It's very intense. This is for all that suffer. And there's a head of a small statue that was part of a religious thing, and the head broke off. And this is a cry out to all the gods. Hear our cry. We want your still small voice, O Lord. Anyway, the lightest sound is the most sacred to Avi. He's so troubled. He always loved the flute. He said when his daughter was alive, she'd play music on the piano, and he'd say that he was King Saul in the Bible, who had an evil spirit, troubled mind, and David would play his harp and he'd be okay. So anyway, so this is all this elaborate thing. He loves applesauce. He can't afford them anymore, but he's getting gummies for his pain in his back. So this is all his stuff here. But the one I just got a kick out of, because he does things in clusters. I don't know if you can see this too well. I hope you can. I hope you can see it. It's funny. It's just called Pothead. But I even asked him. I said, "You got that glue?" I said, "Why don't you glue it together? Like you spray it on it and whatever." But he said, "No, that's the whole idea. It's a pothead." So he's kind of coming apart. I can't seem to figure out how to do this. It'd be nice if I could. I don't think you're going to get the full sugar google. Maybe I could do this. I don't know. There we go. That's a little better. You see a silly putty shell as the nose that's upside down and two nostrils, and there is a mouth and there are eyes in there, but there's cigarettes and there's a pipe. There's actually where is that? You see that coming out? I don't know if there it is, that black. So whatever. So it's called Pothead, and he uses it as a lid, because he said it. It's a pot. Lids are strong and sturdy. But what he does is that he'll put it on here, and there's his weed, his marijuana, and there's his. I can't get it. There we go. There's his pothead. The lid. Flip this lid, he always says. He goes, well, I used to tell the joke. He told so many jokes, but he said, people ask, he said there should be a danger, to warn all parents, stop using the toilet to potty train your children. And the crowd would go, why? And he'd go, that's the first time I flipped my lid. Where's Avi Crazy? He was screwy Drewy then. All right, now I bet you it's over. See, it's 24. Oh, I hope I didn't forget anything. I'm really looking around here. I don't trust me. So that was 3 here, right? Yeah. And, and this, I didn't tell you. The whole thing is called Tranquility's Quest. Tranquility's Quest. And, excuse me. And I don't know which to go, but we'll go here. This was called Many Pilgrimages, and there was lots and lots, and whatever. But now it just summed up all these newspaper clippings of horrors. And this, based on a song that Chuck Mangione entitled, AVI calls this "The Hill Where the Lord Lives." The hill where the Lord lives. So, and this took him a year and 3 months, but I'm going to show you now, this last one. I hope you can see it. It's called, I'm trying to not get emotional. I'd hear him in here screaming, yelling, banging, scraping. He was nuts. How the neighbor on the next door, because it's right over the toilet here. And this is called Sufferina. Year and 3 months. Year and 3 months. And Avi would always go in, when he has problems, he'd always go into the toilet and he'd be out of his mind. People couldn't get him out. Anyway, so he's very comfortable and not comfortable. And I don't know if you can see that, but he knew it was done. It's Sufferina. You see the R-I-N-A. R-I-N-A, Sufferina. And I'm not going to explain any of this. It's horrible. So he just said battery is low. And so he pointed something out. I asked him, I think this would be 17, I don't know, I'm not counting. But I said, what is this over here? Like, I always loved it, you know. But when he worked on this, I always knew he was in a good mood. This was always amazing. And you see Sufferina coming out of the garbage here, specifically in the toilet. So I said, well, what is this right next to Sufferina? And he said, I don't know if you can see his face. I just don't know it. You've got to look really well. I can't even see it now, but I can at times. But ultimately, he said it's the face of eternity's faces. And he calls it the Jolly Genie in the bottle. And he had something here, and then it explodes with all this happiness. And it was the Jolly Genie, but the eternity's faces as well. So, I'm going to end it there. It's close to 30 minutes. And this is the MOOZEUM. The MOOZEUM. And we'll be out of here very shortly, and it'll all stay. And Avi never, that's a very developed area of his. He got there because God pounded him over and over again. What can you hold on to when you're always homeless and out of psych wards, new programs, problems. You don't hold on to too much. He's never been in a place, been here 3 years, and everything was absorbed for this man. But we'll both be on our way. But anyway, this is about a book, and I'm tired, so I apologize. And but it's remember, Dr. SHIFERBRANZ, shift your brains. I hope you can see this. Shift your brains. Go from apathy to empathy. Take this Sufferina. Take this Sufferina and become eternity's, the many faces of eternity, and be that Jolly Genie and bring an explosion at least once a week, 1 hour a week to Sufferina. One hour a week. Avi always said, you're like a fan on the hottest sweltering day on the 8th floor in a hospital that has no air conditioning. You're a fan. You come and you spend time. You bring joy just by your presence. Okay, hope you enjoyed the museum. And that's right, he told me to end on that silly joke. So if he hasn't told it to you already, I'll be crazy. Did you hear about the outbreak of bipolar cows in Wisconsin? They have a moo disorder. Moo. Da 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 da, bye, babe, babe.